Hello and welcome to English Capsules. Today's capsule, when to start. Get your coffee ready and let's get started.
So, hello everyone, welcome one more time. Today we are going to debate a very interesting topic that I think we get asked a lot, like when we start exposing children to a second language. Unfortunately, I think there's not a correct answer to this question. There's like a more appropriate time that shows better results. But that doesn't mean that if you don't follow this, your children won't be able to learn a second language or become bilingual at some point. It means that maybe they are going to have it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
There's not a written rule about this. So this is going to be like a set of guidelines or advice that you may follow if you wish. Yes, based on our experience, right? On our experience as teachers, on our experience as mothers.
Yeah, and our experience being students also.
Mhm.
Because in our case, we have started from a very early age. If we look at back in time now, it was early for that time, but it wasn't so early as kids start today because we more or less started at 4 or 5 years old. If I look at it from the perspective of mother, I have to say that my children started when they were 2 years old was an appropriate time for me. And I can see results now, 10 years later. The level of English they have is incredible.
So I was going to say that most academies nowadays offer English since 2 years old. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that are more audacious and like when they are babies. Normally this is like one session a week in many cases, accompanied by parents or something like this. Um, so this is like in an academy or with a professor, what you can get is this from 2 years old normally. That you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to expect a great deal of output. What you're going to do here is a lot of input, which means you're going to give them the information.
The same as in Spanish, because if you think of how much a 2-year-old kid speaks in Spanish, it's not a lot. The same happens. You give the input, you show, you demonstrate, you give the words, but there's not a lot of output. They don't say a lot, but it's not because they are not listening to you or because they are not learning anything. They don't say a lot because it's the age.
They're
But
not meant to, like, they are not parrots. So this is a very common mistake that parents send children to English and they are like, oh, and can you say this in English? And can you say that in English? And it's like they look at them and their look is like, I'm not a parrot. So if I
yeah,
don't need to use this in this context right now, I'm not going to do it.
and they do know when to use it because they know that at home, if no one speaks English, they are not required to use it. But when they go to the language school, they know the context because they are young, they are small, but they are very
Smart.
very smart. So it's like when they get to the school of language, they use it, and many parents, and this has happened to us as teachers, many parents are really surprised, like, wow, he can say this word in English. It's like, I didn't know. Of course, because you are not in the right context at home.
So in my case, I've been exposing to Mateo more or less since he was a little bit older than 1 year old or something like that. So I have been exposing him probably a little bit earlier because when he was born, I had this problem. I've got a very bad memory. So you know that normally you're going to sing your baby songs and things. And I've been doing this for many years now, teaching very young children. So the songs that come to my head are in English, they are not in
Yeah, of
Spanish.
course. Mm-hmm.
So this situation was not forced, it was an incidental situation. Like I couldn't remember any song in Spanish, so I started singing to him in English. So he started hearing English since he was a little baby.
Baby. Yeah.
But then the other thing that happened is that I have dedicated myself to teaching through literature, through infantile literature.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a library full of books for children, and I'm not going to not use them with my son.
In
So
a
we
way.
started reading books, and the books that we started reading were books in English.
Sure.
So this came as a natural thing. That's what I meant, that this was not, even though it's at home, this was not a forced situation. This was a situation that arose.
And they know that they have this with you. They know because, for example, in the case of my kids, I didn't do that with the books. I did it with the songs, not with the books. But now that they know a lot of English, sometimes we use words in we are speaking Spanish, and then the word does not come to my mind. I have to say it in English. It's like code switching. So I do it, but I know they get what I mean, and they answer. Or, for example, if we have to go somewhere from a very early age, I said, chop, chop, come on, let's go. Or like, I don't know, in the car, please. Like simple instructions, let's say. But they did it. So they understood what I was saying. And something else that they are exposed to, my children and your also, and yours, is that we are teaching from home and we are constantly speaking English all the time. So every time they come here, maybe they don't say anything, but they are constantly getting the input.
Another thing, and this is something that parents ask me a lot, is how do I expose my child? Because we are talking about a very specific context in our case. We
Right.
know the songs, we know the books.
Mm-hmm.
So the songs are accessible to everyone. Actually, probably we can leave a link to some
Mm-hmm.
of the songs that we have normally used in our classes. But another great way to expose them is when they are watching TV. Like when they watch cartoons, most of the cartoons that children watch are originally in English. In our case, we have the TV set on audio at original language. So all the time that he watches cartoons, that is not a lot, but well, the time that he spends
Yeah.
doing that, he's doing it in English. Nowadays, we have lots of tools that we didn't have when we were growing up. We need to
Exactly.
seize them. We need to take advantage of this.
Anyways, if you think about it, cartoons, they're going to watch cartoons anyways. So what if you put the cartoons in English? They will notice at the beginning, of course, they are going to tell you, I don't understand anything, but keep going. As a parent, keep going, don't give up. Because maybe if you say, okay, I'll check later what happens, and sooner, sooner or later, you will see that they are watching and they are having fun and they do follow what the main character has to do because it's like it's predictable and they know it's like of course they know
They're
what happened.
simple arguments, so it's not that you need to be a scientist. So, but it's funny because, like, for example, he recently started watching Mickey Mouse Club,
Hmm.
and what does Mickey say? Oh, tools. So
Yes.
right now, probably he doesn't associate tools with herramientas,
Hmm.
but in the future he will, and that's a word that is going to be stuck in his brain. Or he knows Paw Patrol. I have used Paw Patrol to teach a grandfather because we were talking about animals and he wanted to say the hands and the feet of the dog and he couldn't remember. And I was like, didn't your grandchildren watch Paw Patrol? Yes.
It's an association. Yeah, of course.
And one thing that we were talking about is that many people tell you that if you expose them from a very early age, they are not going to learn their mother tongue as well or as quickly.
Mhm. They're going to get confused. They're going to mix two languages.
That's a
Well,
myth.
no. Yeah, it's a myth.
Very well. They know when to use one word and when not to use it.
And
My
who to
son
use it with.
normally, yes, my son normally uses some words in order, I think, to economize. Like
Yeah.
there's less syllables in the word in English, so I'm going to use the word in English.
I
Um,
think that we're giving them more tools actually, because I remember teaching my son uh, cookies instead of galletita, because galletita was too long and he was a year and a half. And it was faster to say cookie, faster and simpler to produce that two-syllable word instead of four syllables. I don't know. It was faster. So they know, and they know what they mean, and they know when they first produce the word, the thing that they get, because he got the cookies. So it's like it had a good result. Producing the word had a good result. It was the same as water in Spanish, in a way.
and they create their association alone. Like at some point, their brain adjusts all the ideas
Mm-hmm,
together. So I remember Mateo at one point saying like car, that is auto, that is coche, because here you call it a different way. So
mm-hmm.
but he did it on his own. It was not that we were saying the word in English and in Spanish. I don't translate to him. So
No.
I watch him and I see that he more or less gets what I'm saying. Of course, he doesn't understand the whole thing, but eventually he will. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worried about him understanding everything.
And one last thing that I wanted to mention is that if the children are exposed to the language very at a very early age, they learn it playing, because they learn through songs, through games, through rhymes, stories. So it's like the natural thing they would do if they go to kinder happens in the English classroom in a different language. But it's the natural thing they do every day. So for them, it's a game, it's the routine, it's part of their lives, and they acquire that naturally. It's not something forced, and it's not that they tell you. In fact, I think that from all the students I've had, no one said, I don't like going to English classes, or the parents saying he doesn't want to come because he doesn't like the classes. No, that never happened, because they really enjoy the space
And they play. They mostly
and they
learn
play.
playing. Yeah. They
Yeah.
don't realize that they are learning. And
No.
that's a very good thing. So, does this mean that if you haven't started learning English when you were two, you are never going to be able to learn English? No,
No.
this doesn't mean that. You can expose children whenever you believe they are ready. What we are saying is don't be afraid to expose them at a very early age because we have seen that it works. One thing that I have seen that is amazing is that when they learn when they are very little, their pronunciation is
The
amazing.
pronunciation is great.
It's
Yes.
completely different, has nothing to do.
I've seen that, speaking of pronunciation, um, I realized about that when I was at university and I had classmates who had gone to English classes when they were in high school, not even primary school, high school. So it was like the pronunciation was very like, I don't know, hard or like artificial, or they didn't listen to the differences in sounds. For example, when we were taking phonetics, they couldn't detect the difference between some sounds. And they, of course, they couldn't produce those sounds. So it's like, of course, I analyzed that because I was a fan of phonetics and I am a teacher of English. But it has an impact on your pronunciation. And you know that the better you pronounce, the better you will communicate in a way. So, yeah, it is beneficial from every angle, I think. Um, but the important thing here is that if you are a parent and you are hesitating when to expose your child to English, the sooner the better. But if your child didn't start when he or she was two, never mind. Do it whenever you can.
Whenever you feel they are ready. So, we are going to leave one question for our audience, right? And this is on
Mhm.
your experience. So, our question is when did you start learning English?
So, of course, you can drop a comment here below in the platform that you're using to listen to us, or in our Instagram account, The English Capsules. Okay, so before we go, remember to subscribe if you haven't done it yet, give love to our content, and spread the word to help our channel grow.
Also remember that you can rate our episodes and comment on each capsule. Activate the bell so that you know when our next capsule is out. And take a look at the description and our Instagram account to take more advantage of our content.
Okay, that's all for today. Bye for now.
See you in our next episode.